Catching bodies, stacking paper, and running the most successful entertainment venue in Chinatown, just another day in the life of Ah Toy. Played by Olivia Chang in the HBO show Warrior, Ah Toy runs a brothel in Chinatown that is heavily frequented by both gangsters and politicians throughout the city. But there is much more to her than meets the eye, and in this video we're going to discuss what makes Ah Toy the most badass female character in television.
Some of what makes her so goddamn compelling as a character is that her present self can be clearly traced back through the traumatic experiences of her origin story in a way that doesn't necessarily feel forced. When Ah Toy was originally married to a merchant in China, she came over on a business trip with him to start their own American dream. All well and good, right? Wrong. Unfortunately, he died on the way before they crossed the Salt, and Ah Toy had to become the ship captain's concubine for protection reasons. This marks the first time she had to sell or weaponize sex. Once arriving in America, she continued along that path and began a brothel business for the purpose of acquiring land and leveling up, stacking up properties like a dude playing Monopoly who's secretly been stealing money from the bank every time you look away. Like many characters in Warrior, she was forced to adjust and become resourceful in her fight to survive and thrive in Chinatown.
Before we get into Ah Toy's character traits, we gotta cover her elite sword skills. This is the foundation of what makes her so dangerous. We get introduced to her skill set right away in the pilot episode when she mangles the two Irish thugs who killed some Chinese laborers. Pretty gruesome kills. There's another moment in season 1 where she cuts off this dude's fingers for trying to pimp out Lai, child's play, and obviously we can't forget the brutal kills of these two greedy businessmen. We'll touch on this a bit more later. But I'd say season 2 is when we get a way better look at just how unstoppable Ah Toy is with her sword. Her ability to dispatch hordes of opponents at once is put on display when she goes after the Teddy Boys, a group of racist thugs who target and torture the Chinese.
Gotta give her strategy a shout out too. She knows when to fold and wait for the opportunity, which cannot be said of every character in the show.
There's also this other scene where Ah Toy and her protege Lai kill all the men in an entire brothel. Once again, volume kills are easy for Ah Toy when she's got her blade. It's like the Halo sword. But at this point in the show, we still hadn't seen Ah Toy be truly challenged yet. All of the kills, while impressive in nature, were against opponents that were simply cannon fodder.
What the fuck?
It's only at the end of season 2 when we really get to see Ah Toy tested. You can't be a true badass unless you can survive when shit hits the fan, and boy oh boy does Ah Toy show some next level toughness. When two hitmen, Cleaver and Hammer, ambush Ah Toy, she almost loses her life. Without having her sword ready, Ah Toy is easily overpowered by both of these brutes. She takes an absolute fucking beating, but manages to not only survive, but also kill both of these attackers. Y'all realize how many bodies these two guys must have had, and they still lost 2v1 to Ah Toy? My goodness.
This was her coming back from down 3-1, man. If you didn't acknowledge her as a G by now, then I don't know what to tell you. Her ability to turn the tables on a dime puts her in that Omar type of character tier. Way up there.
Overall, the ability to kill a man on her own is the foundation for Ah Toy's badassery. She's a Chinese woman in the 1870s, so she has to face both gender and racial discrimination. Because of her insane fighting prowess, she doesn't have to play by the rules, and most importantly, she doesn't need to rely on the help of a man to get even. She's personally caught numerous bodies, and being capable of that level of violence isn't something you see in a female on-screen character very often. But obviously being a badass requires more than just elite killing skills, and this is what separates Ah Toy from the others. Ah Toy is highly respected for her intelligence, loyalty, and business acumen.
I think what stands out about her here for me is that she doesn't just operate through fear and manipulation like a lot of other power players in the show do. She tends to cover her tracks better than someone like Chow, who she's often associated with, and though it's waned recently, the neutrality and the good terms she can maintain with the top dogs in Chinatown is an insane balancing act. She also does this while keeping it real and not losing our respect in the process, unlike some other characters who tend to stay impartial within other action and drama shows. How many people could possibly stay on good terms with both Mai Ling and Big Bill at the same time? Like, we're talking about two opposite ends of the social spectrum here. She also doesn't let her relationships or her hookups cloud judgment. The shift in her connection with Assam is particularly notable. She's a strong, independent character and doesn't fall into a two-dimensional love interest role you'd expect from the jump, and this allows her to grow more throughout the show.
Yeah, she doesn't just become one of his girls, but is actually an equal and confidant. They basically support each other, and Assam respects her immensely. She also hooks up with and starts a relationship with Nelly at one point, but remains rational and separates love from what's best for her girls and business.
The fact that she's a real one doesn't hurt either. Assam would have been completely screwed if Atoy hadn't been loyal in key spots. So would Chow. So would the Hop Way, so would Bill, so would Nelly, so would her girls. The list goes on. You get the point. Then we have the wheeling and dealing she pulled off to climb the proverbial ladder. Our girl knew how to hide that cash.
And speaking of cash, Atoy was making serious paper. She's basically running the hottest nightclub in Chinatown, and even if she has to pay out the occasional bribe, she's still got that opium den on the side that should generate some good recurring revenue. I'm not here to talk about ethics right now, but from a strictly business perspective, Atoy was crushing it. She was also smart as fuck about what to do with her money. She knew to put that shit in real estate. Atoy has been ahead of the game for a long time.
Yeah, just one of life's tough lessons. Not everyone's built for it. My Ling tried a similar maneuver in season 3, which did end up with her serving some hard time.
And I get locked up. They won't let me out. They won't let me out.
And when things catch up to Atoy, there's a clear bounce back. Every time she goes down, there's an even better comeback waiting in the wings for us. She's invincible. No, not that one. Okay, I guess this still sort of works.
Let's talk about vengeance next.
I'm vengeance.
There are some simple rules I like to abide by in life. Never mix alcohol with seafood, never bet on the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl, and most importantly, never fuck over Atoy. Seriously, if you cross this woman, you will pay the ultimate price, and being a vengeful motherfucker is a key trait of badassery. We first see this in season 1 when Atoy tries to buy land with the help of her business partner, Leonard Patterson. As a Chinese woman in America, Atoy is forbidden from legally owning land, so white man Patterson serves as her front and purchases the land using the stacks of cash she earns from the brothel business.
She's following in the footsteps of many esteemed, perfectly legitimate business people before. All the greats knew how to wash that cash.
Absolutely, Damon, all of the greats. Patterson tells Atoy that there's some cheap land that's up for sale, and since the land is already being leased to dairy farmers, it's a great investment that pays for itself. Unfortunately, the men selling the land, Victor Timmons and Lance McCormick, figure out that Atoy is the actual buyer. They reject Patterson's offer and threaten to expose Atoy unless they pay $5,000. These men have made a major mistake. Atoy ends up dicing them like onions. All these dumb fucks had to do was sell the land to Atoy and make a nice bag, but instead they tried Atoy and paid the ultimate price. Look how terrified Patterson is right here. What's the lesson here, ladies and gentlemen? Don't cross Atoy.
Boys, sometimes you just gotta take the deal. She's terrifying in that scene on a whole other level, and she takes on this almost mythical or nightmarish quality in a lot of these moments. Like, one minute there's nothing there, then all of a sudden, like, God, whoa, what? God damn, she just pops right up. Cold-blooded in general, and it definitely serves the cool factor as well.
In season 3, we see even more of the vengeful side of Atoy, but this time we also get to see how patient she can be when it comes to revenge. It all starts when Douglas Strickland wants to buy Nelly's land. Nelly's wine vineyard serves as a haven of many Chinese girls who were rescued from sex slavery. Many of Atoy's former girls now live and work on the vineyard as well, including Lai. At this point, Atoy and Nelly are having a romantic relationship, so Atoy spends many weekends on the vineyard.
I remember watching this in real time, and it had "too good to be true" written all over it, because part of Atoy's arc is that she's largely tied to Chinatown, and that a happy ending away from there is sort of fool's gold for her, especially when you look at her dynamic nature as a character and how it just seems like something there keeps on pulling her back. The transition to the suburbs is not meant for everyone.
One night, Douglas's goons launch a brutal ambush attack on the vineyard, burning down the entire place and killing many of the girls living there. Atoy barely survives the attack, and as she's looking at the coffins of the dead girls, both revenge and rage are burning in her eyes. But instead of being rash and emotional in her reaction, Atoy bides her time and waits for the perfect opportunity to strike. Unfortunately, her protege Lai didn't follow the same memo, and she gets herself killed attempting to exact revenge on Strickland. Grimy move by Strickland using the bottle, but in a fight to the death, anything goes. If Strickland's fate wasn't sealed before, it definitely is now. Atoy waits for the right moment and pulls up on Strickland with her textbook blade. She toys with him a bit before ending his life while staring into his eyes.
Incredible kill. That sick bastard had it coming for a long time.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Probably one of the most hateable faces in Warrior so far, bar none.
It's a theme throughout all 3 seasons of Warrior. You want Atoy on your side, not against you. Every single person who harmed Atoy basically dies.
For as iconic as she is, we would be full of shit if we didn't also point out her flaws, because there are several. This is part of what makes her so well written. Her ambition and a certain coldness about her take over when times get tough. It's her defense mechanism that she uses to keep her world in check, and I can respect that. She rolls with a kind of street code that would make Avon Barksdale proud. Where Myling is more of a stringer bell, at best. However, it causes her to be vulnerable to an occasional blindside, with both her original land partnership and the attempt at the winery safe haven with Nellie falling apart. Not really her fault. Would this ambition even be an issue if she wasn't being held back by the societal constraints imposed on her in the US during the 1870s?
Maybe. I don't know. Not really.
We see her becoming more compassionate and understanding in season 3, but even then there are some slight concerns. While she's noble and is seeking a better life for her girls, she is still selling sex.
And she's also pushing Poppy in her opium den. Obviously, with the opioid crisis in America, we know how this stuff can fuck your entire life up, and we can't forget that Atoy is a drug dealer. As for selling sex, we're not here to debate the morality of it. I'm all for legalization of prostitution, but the bigger issue is that she's getting wealthy off of pimping out these girls, so there is a bit of an exploitation discussion to be had there. She's still a badass, but these are just some of the flaws that we gotta be honest about. It is what it is.
Yeah, the other options at the time are pretty terrible too, though. She's not really operating in a black and white area, it's very gray. Plus, we'd rather have the girls employed by someone who cares about their well-being than not, so you can eat shit, Mingyu. Fucking asshole.
There simply aren't a lot of characters like Atoy in television. She's smart but also a savage. She's loyal but also ruthless. She's gritty but also loving. She's resourceful but also damaged. If you stumbled upon this video without watching Warrior, go back and watch immediately. So that's why we think Atoy is the most badass female character in television. If you disagree, let us know in the comment section. Otherwise, we'll catch y'all later.